Y'all, it's your boy Michael. We're back here with Josh. He's about to show us his new Pendulum Magician deck profile since it got hit by the ban list. We lost, tell him what we lost.
Oh, Double Iris and Joker. And
yeah.
I'm really salty about it still, but the deck's still really good. I still think it's the best deck of the format.
I was okay with, you know, Skokabat. I wasn't okay with Double Iris.
Yeah.
That was a little harsh, you know what I'm saying?
It hurts. It doesn't kill the deck though, but I don't have any credentials behind this yet. It's mostly just theory, but we're going up to a regional in a couple days in Indy. So I'm going to be playing this there, and if you guys want a skeleton of what to play, this is a pretty good one. It's pretty consistent, but yeah, I'll talk about it as I go through it.
Cool.
For Magicians, 3 Wisdom Eye, 3 Harmonizing. These are still broken, really good. 3 Purple Poison, 3 Black Fang, and 1 Oath Dragon. So you gotta play 3 Wisdom Eye because it's a scale and it triggers your Astrograph Destruction, which I think every Pendulum build should be playing this in there just to turbo out Electromite, and it's really good with the pluses and everything. 3 Harmonizing because it's a power play, it's an instant rank 4, instant synchro. Purple Poison's good removal and a good low scale. So this one is something that not everybody's running, but I run triple Black Fang because, like, with Joker gone and Double Iris gone, Iris is 3 high scales, and Joker is 3 high scales as well, but it's also access to more Magicians, so like, you'll open up hands where you don't have a Magician in scale, another one other than Wisdom Eye, and then you can't trigger its effect, because a lot of times you're scaling cards from secondary engines. So I max out on Black Fang just to have more targets, or not more targets, but more Magician scales to be able to use his effect, because it's just insane. Like, it triggers Astrograph and gets you a scale to complete your summon. And this card's actually pretty useful. Like, I'll talk about later some other cards that I play that make it a little bit better. Some people have been running 1 of this or 2, but I definitely think you should max it on 3 just for consistency purposes. And then 1 Oath Dragon's a little different too. A lot of people have been running 2. To summon off of this, if you have Chronograph to make Naruto, which is the spell Trap Negate guy. But when I was testing, like, the Naruto play does not come up as much as you think it does, especially after Joker and Iris are gone. Like, before I could see running 2 of this, but after Joker and Iris, like, I think 1 is enough because it's still a brick card in your hand. But it is really good in scale to recur stuff. But like I said, you don't always have another Magician in the other scale, so that would make its effect useless. And you really don't want to draw it very much. And then we have our secondary engine number 1 for turboing out Electromite. 3 Astrograph and Stargazer, and then 3 Chronograph and Time Gazer.
Too bad I got rid of all those cards except for freaking Astrograph.
Yeah, so like, originally I wasn't playing Stargazer because this is the worst brick in the deck. Absolutely. Like, it's a level 5, and its scale becomes 4 if there's not a Magician in the other scale. So this bricks the most out of anything because, like, you can't even, if you hard draw this, you can't even normal summon it to make Electromite with because it's a level 5. So originally I wasn't playing it, and I was making Electromite about 60 to 70% of the time before I Pendulum summon in my hands. But then I added this guy in, and it bumped up my consistency percentage to about between 75 and 80% of the time that I can make Electromite before I Pendulum summon, which is what you want to do, but it's not the end of the world if you can't. But yeah, these cards are insane. Like, you just have to play them. Time Gazer isn't bad, because at least if you draw it, you can normal summon it and make Electromite, and it does help a little bit. Like, I justified it because it's a Magician, so you can at least scale it with Wisdom Eye and get a scale out. So then we have secondary engine number 2, the Supreme Kings, and then 2 scales to search off of them. So, alright, not everybody likes this package, but I do, just because without Joker, you don't have a good normal summon, so that's what this is. You normal summon it, and yeah, you can only search this, but this is a level 7, so your most common play is Astrograph and this. Like, it was searching this, and these 2 are both level 7s, so you can overlay for Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon, and then you link away with that and get Vortex. So that's why you play 2 of that. And a lot of the time, if you're starting plays with this, and you search this, this is what you're gonna pop in the scale with Electromite to add back Astrograph from your extra. and then sometimes you just need another low scale to complete your Pendulum summon to search off of Astrograph. So that's why you play 2 of it, and you just like, it's really not that much of a brick, because like I said, you can overlay with it with Astrograph, and this card is just really good. I play some other cards to send it to grave, like Dragon Shrine, Foolish, that type of thing. And yeah, so there's another school, or I wouldn't say school of thought, but there was another list that I saw that was playing basically Rescue Rabbits and Dragon Pulse Magician instead of this. And I do like that build a lot. Shout out to Trey and his friend Furman for that idea, because I didn't even think about it, and I've been testing it yesterday. And I ultimately decided with this over the Rescue Rabbits, because what you do with the Rescue Rabbit, you normal summon, you know, banish it, summon 2 Dragon Pulse, or Dragon Pit, I'm not sure which one it is, the level 4 vanilla, then you make Electromite. But I feel like that's more susceptible to Ash, because if you normal summon a rabbit and banish it and they Ash it, like, you're in a really bad spot, because you lost your normal summon, you know, and you don't have a way to make Electromite at this point, unless you open like the nuts and you still have Astrographs in hand, or and Chronographs. But with this, like, if you activate Dragon Shrine, like, they at least have to think about ashing it, because if they ash a Dragon Shrine, like, you could probably still go off with 4 cards in hand, and if they don't ash it, then you get a free body, and they can ash the Search, which is fine, like, you don't really care about that. So I just feel like this is like the safer option. But if you play the Rescue Rabbits, you can Pendulum summon the rabbit, and then you can, if you can already make Electromite and stuff, and then you can banish it to summon 2 more, and it becomes like, it's 1 monster, but it becomes worth 2. So you can go off like a lot harder and make like Yugioh, fix your hand, dig for more stuff. But like I thought that this would come up more than the other ones would come up. So the little spice engine that I play, 3 guiding Ariadne. So what this card does is when it's destroyed, you can search a counter trap, or well, not search it. You reveal 3 counter traps, and your opponent picks 1 for you to add to hand. But so the other problem with this deck, like outside of its consistency issue, is without Double Iris, you don't have anything to pop off of Electromite that's actively giving you a plus, because this is something that you would pop a lot, or you would just pop, you know, whatever random scale that you had to search another one. Yeah. But this actually gives you a plus similar to what Double Iris did. So, and it just really, like, if you're going first against the Mirror, or really any deck right now, just having counter traps is really good, and especially against the Mirror. Like, the Mirror isn't consistent enough to be able to main deck spell trap removal like it could before the list. So a lot of people just game 1 are not going to have a response to your strikes or warnings or your judgment or whatever. And also, it gave me an excuse to play Judgment in a combo deck, because that answer is evenly matched. So yeah, guiding Ariadne is really good. When I first tried it, I thought it was really bricky and inconsistent, but it was really the rest of my deck that was inconsistent. And so this is actually really good. And so the thing is, like, if you can't make Electromite before you Pendulum summon, people will look at that and be like, oh, well, I didn't get max value out of that. But if you have Ariadne, it doesn't really matter, because if you make it after your Pendulum summon, and you can pop an Ariadne, you're fine. Like, you're still going to have enough disruption. Because my goal with this deck was not only to make Electromite a lot, but it was to have at least 2 disruptions, like, per hand. At a lot of times you'll end with 3, and sometimes you can even end with 4 or 5. So it's pretty crazy. But yeah, I would definitely play Ariadne. And then for hand traps, just 3 Ash is the best one. Like, if you're really concerned about the Mirror, you can play Ogre instead. But since it's such a wide open format right now, like, I think Pendulum's the best deck, but a lot of other people might not at this point. So I'm not going to main deck Ogre until that becomes like the standard and everybody realizes that Pendulum is the best deck. But this just hits too much, and I expect like 60 card decks to be a thing, and so I want to be able to Ash left arms and Ash grasses and everything. So yeah, 3 Ash. And then, so that's all the monsters, and then we go on to the spells. I only play 5, and they're all 1-ofs. Foolish Burial and Dragon Shrine. So these just send Dark Worms to get your play started. And so another plus to that Rescue Rabbit engine is that Rescue Rabbit is a 1-card Electromite. And so this kind of functions in the same way. So like you're running like 3 rabbits and then 3 of the other thing, the Dragon Pulse or whatever. But with this, here, I'll show you my other spells. Duelist Alliance and 2 targets to search off of it. You can search this, so you're running 1, 2, 3, 4, basically. So you have 4 outlets for this. And yeah, but these kind of function as like your 1 card Electromite, even though it's not really 1 card, but it's just, you don't lose anything. Like you activate this and send Darkworm, you summon Darkworm and you search. So you still have 5 cards in hand and you have a card on the field. So you're technically +1 if you want to call it that. So that's it with those. I only play 1 of this because, like I said, like earlier, you're playing a lot of secondary engines, like you just have to. So 2 of this like isn't as useful as I think it was before. You definitely can play 2 if you want, but I chose to play 1 and then an Alliance instead to have the versatility to search this if I need it. So that my favorite interaction with the deck is Pendulum Call discarding Darkworm, because what will happen is you'll have 5 cards in hand. And so you can activate Pendulum Call, discard Darkworm, and if they ash the Pendulum Call, which people will, like 100% of the time, they will always ash this card. You have 3 cards in hand. You can just summon this from grave and search the scale. So you have 4, and so that's 4 in hand and 1 on the field. So you technically still have 5 resources. So you didn't lose anything there. And then, like I said, it baits out the hand trap, so you won't have to deal with it in the rest of your plays. And your Ariadne searches are always going to go through, which is good. And then if they don't ash this, then you go up to 5 cards in hand because you add 2 off this, then you summon this and you have 6, and then technically you're +2 because you have a resource on the field and you have 6 cards in hand. So this interaction is just ridiculous, I feel like. So that's another plus to playing this engine that you wouldn't get from playing something like the Rescue Rabbit engine. But it's just kind of, like I said, I think this is a little safer. But like it does require more setup, I guess, or more other cards to work with it than Rescue Rabbit does. But I think it's working really well so far. So, and then for traps, we play 5 counter traps: 3 strike, 1 warning, 1 judgment, and that's it. No time Pendulum Graph. So that's another thing that was contributing to like inconsistencies for me. Like I only wanted time Pendulum Graph when I could only make Vortex, and like that was my only disruption. But like I didn't want to run more of it because I tried that, and just drawing it's like not a combo piece, and it's not searchable outside of Alliance. But you don't want to play more Alliance because this card's hard once per turn. So if you draw multiples of this, it's a brick. Like it's literally just like a -1, so you're already down a card. So I didn't want to do that. And you're gonna have there's some hands I'll say like where you have Magicians on the field and in your scales, and it'd be nice to have the trap because it's just a really good card. But there's plenty of hands, like I'd say like 40% of them, where you just have secondary scales that aren't Magicians, and so at that point the trap is useless. And you won't have Magicians on the field that often either to pop with it. And even if you did have the trap, you don't really want to pop your scales anyway, because you don't really have like the plussing that you're going to have there that you had beforehand. And then extra deck, double Electromite. You can play 3 of that if you want, but I just play 2. The plays where you make 2 in 1 turn don't happen as often as they did before the ban list, so I think 2 is totally fine. But yeah, this is what makes the deck work. Without this, the deck probably would not be very good. So yeah. And then you play a Decode Talker to link into, because you'll make this and then you'll Pendulum Summon, you'll use Astrograph and the Scale 0 or 2 Astrographs to overlay into Absolute, link into this. Absolute will bring out Vortex, and there you go. So that's what that's for. I play a Boar Load. If you have, if you have Scoldy or Saryuya, as it's called in the TCG, you can play that instead. But I just didn't like with this deck. You're not going to like my most common opening is Decode Talker, pointing to a Vortex and a Purple Poison with 2 scales and a counter trap set and. Either like an ash in hand, or that's really common, like either or something set or an ash in hand. So that's 2 disruptions right there, and this is just protection. So like in those kind of scenarios, if that's my most common like opening, I can't Skull or Saryuya doesn't really do much for me. But you can definitely play it in this version because you can dig for traps, which is nice. But I chose to play Boar Load, and just because, like I said, it's such a wide open format, like this is just an out to a lot of stuff. and it's really hard for a lot of rogue decks to deal with. So sorry I'm stuttering so much. I don't know what's up. It's just I'm talking fast, but
Oh, you're good, homie.
And then Xyz, Time Star, Baguska, Tornado, and Supreme King Dragon for the rank 4s. So this guy, I've actually never summoned him in testing like at all. But I mean, he's there just in case I need to search something. But you can probably cut him if you want, actually. Baguska, I still think is really good. There are some hands where, like, depending on the matchup, like, you can just overlay, like, you can make like a Baguska or a Borreload and a Decode Talker. Not both, like one or the other, and then have this under it. And like this can protect your Baguska and stuff, so it's like, that's pretty good. And it's just a really good stall card if you can't do anything else. Tornado Dragon's just generically good. People are going to be playing more back row now that Torrential and Bottomless are back, so this is good. And I'll make this first turn sometimes. This is for swinging for game. Or just doing a ton of damage, because this gets over like a lot of stuff, and I just didn't have room in the extra to play Utopia the Lightning, so we played this guy instead. But I actually prefer this guy because he can steal games out of nowhere, especially if you're in time. And then Naruto, gold rare, unfortunately. This card doesn't come up as much as it used to, but it's still really good. Like if you open Astrograph, Chronograph, and then like another combo piece, you can make the Vortex, Decode Talker Vortex Naruto play, which is really nice. So it's there just for that. And then last XZ is Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon. So this is just it's the rank 7 you overlay, and then you link away with it, and then it brings out that guy. So yeah, not much to say there. Everybody knows that combo. Synchros, I only play 3. The Raigeki, Omega, and then Ignister. This is for going second, and it's just great removal. Like, I think every deck that can summon this, every Pendulum deck should be playing Ignister, obviously. This is actually part of my opening board. I forgot to mention, like, your best hands, you'll make Electromite, you'll have an Astrograph already on the field, and then you'll Pendulum summon either another Astrograph or the Scale 0 here, Harmonizing here, another level 4 here, and Harmonizing brings out a level 4 here. You Synchro for Omega, banish it, then you overlay, and you make Absolute link away with Decode Talker over here. It'll be pointing to the poison that you probably bring out, and then Vortex, so you have a little protection for your Vortex, and you have an Omega in circulation. And then you might also have counter traps for that you search off Ariadne, or just Ashes in hand, so that's just ridiculous. And this card, basically it copies Electromite if you need to. I would much rather use this as a combo extender turn 1 than making another one of this, since I only run 2. Like, I don't want to waste it. But yeah, sometimes you do make 2, but this is also really good to copy stuff like Ignister. Like, it's just, it's a really great card. Yeah, so it's just really versatile. And you can copy your opponent's stuff from graveyard too if they have like something like a Buster Dragon that you want to copy. That'd be a decent play. And then last fusion, Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon. That's just something you summon off of Absolute, and yeah, it gives you that extra layer of protection that you really want. So I make this guy, he's outside of Electromite, he's one of my most summoned extra deck monsters, which is really good. But yeah, this list isn't complete. I'm not going to show you guys the side deck because that depends on like where you're playing. I still haven't decided on mine yet, but this is a pretty good skeleton. I feel like you can cut the Ariadne engine if you want and put in more cards like Duelist Alliance, or Desires. I really wanted to play Pot of Desires, but I just couldn't find space for it. But yeah, so that's the list. If you guys have any like suggestions or anything, or if you want to see some like test hands with it, I could do a test hand video and show you guys maybe how to play it a little more. But yeah, if you needed a skeleton, this is a good one. And if you see me at Indy, come say something. We can talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! Theory or something. I don't know. But,
hey.
Yeah.
All right.